Welcome to episode 128 of the Postmodern Polymaths podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris. Next to me this week is All-Star Stud Muffin, Lyman Smith. How you doing, Lyman?
Good, man. How are you?
All right. You been up to anything exciting lately?
I don't know about exciting, but I've been watching the impeachment.
Yeah, maybe you need to. I mean, I know some people. Well, I've actually haven't been watching it that much because I just don't have the energy to fuck with it. So, why don't you kind of give a brief breakdown of that, what you've seen?
So yesterday, the impeachment managers gave their presentation. Basically, yesterday was to determine whether or not the Senate was going to let it go to trial, because the question initially was if it was constitutional to impeach a president that wasn't actively in office. They went back and forth. The vote was successful because, I mean, the primary argument is that if it's a matter of like timing and somebody wants to do a bunch of fuckery right before the end of their term, that it would basically give kind of a free pass, carte blanche, to do what you want because there's no repercussions at the end anyway. And then theoretically you could just run again. And that was successful. And then they adjourned. So today has been opening statements, which I think was like 3 or 4 hours, maybe 5, and still going. It just concluded like 20 minutes ago. It's the House impeachment management still laying out their case, and they've done a surprisingly good job. And I don't like lawyers, and I don't necessarily love politicians, but for what it is, for the type of thing, I really don't think anybody could do a better job than the people they've elected, put into that position.
Well, I heard his lawyers are just fucking horrific. Like,
yeah.
The most unqualified numbnut motherfuckers ever.
Well, one thing, and I forget which one it is. I think it's Shown. So, God, what is the guy's name? Okay, so just Clown 1 went yesterday, and it was about 45 minutes of just word salad. Like, he started off talking about how Congress and senators are people and all this stuff, and like that was like a 20-minute thing, and then it went on to like how he understands that when something bad happens, people get really upset and they want accountability, and saying that kind of like that's like, well, I get it, but it's not really reasonable. And then he concluded and said nothing, and then the next guy spoke for twice as long. His lawyer with last name Shown, who also, from what I've read, is a lawyer that has a habit of taking on organized crime cases, like in support of the organized crime and mob historically. So yeah, that was a very dry, broken, incorrect, warped presentation about constitutionality and stuff like that. And then he closed by reading a poem by Longfellow.
You're gone. Your audio's out. I can't hear you. Your audio's out.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's
okay.
What was this poem by Longfellow?
I tuned out the second he started reading it. It was supposed to be Abraham Lincoln's favorite poet, and like partway through it, he's choking up, and like he turned it from like being trapped in a salad spinner of words to like a poetry jam, and started weeping partway through it. Yeah, it's real bad. Honestly, I wouldn't let these people near a legal case of mine even for free. It's bad.
Yeah, I don't. He's in bad shape when he's down to those guys. I mean, nobody wants to represent him. He's toxic as fuck. Plus, he don't pay nobody nothing.
Well, that's the biggie right there. Hopefully, these guys are smart enough to get paid up front and not work on contingency or something.
You never know, man. They may be in for the publicity alone, figuring that's worth more than anything else.
I think that's basically what you'd have to be doing it for, money and publicity at this point, because let's just say, I mean, watching their weak attempts at arguments juxtaposed against like the actual like case brought against them, I would not want to be them to have to try to argue this. It's bad.
I don't know, man. I guess when it comes right down to it, and nobody wants to fuck with his ass, and
No,
the only people who want anything to do with him are grifters, which would make sense since he's like the head, the king of grifters or whatever. So he's,
it is true.
I did hear that they released an unreleased video footage from the riots that was kind of disturbing or something. I hadn't seen that yet.
There was like we've all seen. I've seen, I think, pretty much all the publicly available stuff that's out there, but they released security camera footage from the inside, and they released some body cam footage also on at least one of the officers, the Capitol PD, and it was actually kind of disturbing because some of the times where like there's the one officer by himself, confronting the mob. And the way he kind of led them upstairs and baited them, that was deliberate. That he tried to bait them up there because literally the door they just walked past was all of the house was hiding, and so like had doors opened just even 30 seconds sooner or something gone sideways, these people would have just had a free for all on Congress. It is pretty intense to see it from that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I guess unless you were there, I guess you really don't know how you felt or how close it was, And I guess what they're trying to do. They're trying to set up the kind of danger they put people in. That when Trump instigated these fuckers to go in there.
The thing that's baffling to me, like it's two parts. One, if I was these people, any of these people that were there that day, and it was me that got put in danger from this fucking guy, like there'd be no question about accountability. The only question would be how. And the fact that some of the Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, Marco Rubio, stuff like that, have all played a non-insignificant role in helping stoke some of the Stop the Steal crap and all that. It's a little weird that they get to be on the jury, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I guess the framers of the Constitution probably didn't figure we'd have. Well, I know they didn't figure that we'd have like two monolithic parties, and then an entire party would get corrupted to the point where you'd have enough people in the Senate to theoretically just be like, nah.
I don't think unless it affects people personally, they don't give a shit. That's what it comes down to.
For a lot of people, yeah. But yeah, there was a lot of those representatives and senators that had their families and stuff there, just like hanging out with them at the Capitol, and they had to like scurry with their families and hide and stuff like that. There's a lot of video of them and their families getting escorted by Capitol Police, like just after it's now safe, and they're trying to hustle them around, and Mike Pence and his family and stuff like that.
Yeah, they talking about hanging him. I mean, I would have thought they would have done some. Of course, Trump's loyal to him anyway, probably just as much as Democrats.
It's worth watching, dude. Like it's not like the typical Senate session where it's just people bickering. Like it's a really, really well put together presentation that is not dry. It's informative. It's concise. It actually paints a full timeline. So all these little bits and pieces we saw, up until this, it puts them in chronological order. Largely because a lot of these, well, pretty much most of the videos on there, and a lot of the content was video and other content that was scraped off of Parler, which had the metadata. So it has the timestamps, it's got the locations, it's got all the GPS coordinates on the metadata for the videos, where it was shot, what it was shot on, like everything. So they can string together a complete picture from start to end with the stuff that was posted.
Pretty damning stuff. especially with all those people showing their asses.
Yeah.
How do you not realize people are so fucking stupid? I mean, you don't put on your mask, and everybody can tell who you are, and you're just flaunting the shit. It's stupid to me. I don't know.
Like they literally had a built-in excuse to hide their face.
Yeah, right.
Like, I listened to a podcast where there was an interview with these guys that were they were just doing some journalism down there during this before it kicked off. They were covering Trump's rally, and they were talking about how people would look at you funny if you had masks on and stuff, because that was like kind of how you could somewhat tell who was there for Trump or not, because like pretty much no one had masks on if they were down there, and you get kind of these sideways looks like, you know, who the hell are these people if you were walking by them or try to talk to them and you had a mask on. It's actually pretty interesting. I should send you a link to it.
So you think nothing's going to... They won't vote to convict. I really doubt that. But as far as if you were making a case, if you're just looking at this in the terms of a regular court case, would you say the plaintiff or whatever?
The defendant?
No, the attorney, the
prosecutor.
The prosecutor. Shit, like
yeah.
Are they doing pretty well? So I mean, it sounds like they're, nothing's really happened yet, but it sounds like they're getting it off on a good foot.
Dude, they're killing it, honestly. Like, and that's not because it's Democrats, not because of any of that. Like, objectively, they're killing it. Like, I hope anybody in any court situation has lawyering done as well as this. It's real good.
All right. There's I was watching Majority Report today, which, if nobody knows, Sam Cedar, it's a YouTube thing, and he also does the podcast part later. But it's like a lefty, progressive type of talk show deal or whatever, political show or whatever.
Yeah.
But they played the Nidra, if I can get her name right, Nidra Tendon or something like that. She was the head of. She's one that's been nominated for Office of Management and Budget or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And when that, now this isn't really a huge cabinet position or whatever, but she, before when she was nominated, some of these tweets came out where she was basically, she shits on progressives. She said we should carpet bomb Lebanon to get their oil or something. What was it? It wasn't Lebanon. It was Libya.
I hadn't seen any
get their oil.
I've been following the impeachment stuff, so I haven't followed much of the appointees.
She was it was Center for American Progress, which is like I think it's like a neoliberal think tank or whatever. Pretty much, it's not lefty at all, and she seems to hate progress. Bernie confronted her ass and asked her about the tweets. Why you calling us names and shit.
Did he do it publicly, or is it like through?
No. He did it publicly.
Oh, I gotta look that up.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
It was pretty quiet, but then somebody else questioned her. It was a Republican though, and I think Kennedy was his last name. I can't remember, but
is it John Kennedy, like the redheaded Kennedy?
He's an old dude. I don't remember. I'd have to look, but he said she called Sanders everything but an ignorant slut. I was like, oh wow. And if anybody doesn't get that reference, it was on SNL, like way back in the day. It's when Dan Aykroyd calls Jane Curtin an ignorant slut. Jane, you ignorant slut, basically. So that's where that comes from. She's like, no, whatever.
So,
but it was just funny. Is
she getting appointed?
Yeah, I'm sure she.
Like confirmed, rather.
I'm sure she will. I mean,
does anybody have a problem with her?
Progressive, sure, but I mean that's not going to mean anything. That's going to mean not be enough votes, and they're not going to break away over her. I mean, it's a pretty minor position.
But I mean, as a whole, does it seem like issues that are had with her are like niche to the progressives, or is it like she's kind of viewed as just generally kind of meh by everybody.
No,
Well, not everybody's.
I mean, she's qualified and all that bullshit. But yeah, I think her remarks were geared mostly towards progressives.
Got it.
So I don't. She was part of a centrist Democrat organization. So I mean, obviously they're not going to be too concerned about it. They probably want to fucking bomb Libya anyway.
You know what? I have to say, like, all
They
that
just
aside,
don't say it out loud.
I don't disagree with you at all. But the one thing that I think is refreshing, at least to me, is having people that are actually qualified to do the job, regardless of like if they have stuff that we don't like they're qualified to actually do it. Like you don't have hedge fund manager doing like HUD and like people like DeVos running education and shit like that. Like it's nice to like we may have problems with their policies and things that they want to do, but you at least know that they know how to like keep the boat from sinking like entirely, which is kind of a sad thing to say as a plus. But
well, yeah, I mean, it's just funny that we're so used to we've been so used to Trump's like utter incompetence for the last 4 years that like anytime Biden does something that a real president should have done anyway, and people are acting like, oh my God, I can't believe it. He's such a great president.
yeah,
fuck off, dude.
I mean, there's a lot of that, and I think that's definitely overstating what he is. I think he's done some good stuff, like because it could have just as easily gone where things weren't reversed. Like, oh, it's already in there. You can pin it on Trump for doing it, and then it just stays. Like, I'm not saying he's a great president because he hasn't really. He's got a long road ahead of him, but I'll give credit where it's due. I mean, reversing horrible shit, that's important. Like, I don't feel like that's an assumed bare minimum that we can count on anymore.
I don't know. It just bothers me when people do that.
Well, me too. But I also, on the flip side, what is he, like 20 days in?
Get out of my
Some shit like that. Yeah. Like 20 days in or like whatever it is.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not money.
and they're like, well, he hasn't done anything. It's like, dude, like, like
yeah, no, yeah.
Both they're polar opposite ends of the spectrum of the same problem, where it's like, they want to, give him all the credit that's possible for doing like things that really should be done, but we can't necessarily count on, but he did it anyway. So it's like, give him kudos where it's due, but like still ask for more. And then it's like, what do you think he was going to walk in and just all of a sudden like turn it into some sort of utopia? Like, it doesn't really work either. It doesn't matter who you have. It's
Well, I don't know. I just know we got to keep his feet to the fire.
Hell yeah.
And they'll get kind of. Hopefully, this honeymoon phase will end pretty quickly. I hope because,
what do you mean by honeymoon? Like what people do?
He's being all over his ass because he's doing stuff that any normal president should do, or whatever. It's like, okay, now we're back to where we should have been before, where we were before, which is baseline. Now we gotta see what we can do or whatever.
See, even if tomorrow he like pumped out like universal health care or something, right? Like, I would still say put his feet to the fire. Like, the feet should never be off the fire. Like, I think when somebody does something that's positive, they should get credit. And when they don't do something that's positive or they do something bad, like, you should light them up. But the entire time there should be a baseline of pressure that's just expected and inherent, That's just the way I look at it.
Just a moment. My cat is licking on me and every kind of fucking.
And just so you know, I could hear it. I could hear your cat sound like.
It's those spiny things on their tongues.
Oh, I know, man.
It's like Velcro or some shit.
Dude, side story, when I used, like, I'd fall asleep and like I'd have my hand like laying off the edge of the bed or something, my cat would come up and just start licking like this part of my hand, like right here. Yeah. And I wouldn't wake up from it for like a long time. And I'd wake up and it'd be like just red raw from the cat just licking it. And I was like, oh, fucking kitty. Fucking kitty.
Crazy cats.
I know, I love them.
So, as far as the first 20, we're still battling on this fucking, and I'm still pissed off about the 1400 thing. They just straight up trying to make that look good, but whatever. Um, and now they're still trying to, because they're going to do it through. It looks like they're going to do it through reconciliation, but
Yes.
Manchin, apparently we just gotta suck Manchin's dick all the time to get anything done now, you know, because he's like he's like the, and he loves it, he loves being like the swing vote or whatever it is,
Of course.
you know.
I'm glad they're
So
doing it through reconciliation, though, because
apparently there's pretty strict rules regarding that. You can only do it once per fiscal year, and it has to be on matters specifically related to budget concerns.
which I think that would qualify. Yeah.
And obviously it does qualify. So
But
it looks
can
like
can you only use it once a year?
fiscal year.
Yeah. I thought Trump and the Republicans used it.
They use it for
Like
those tax cuts.
Was that the only thing, though? I thought they used it for multiple things, like in one shot. Oh, no. They were trying to jam all the things into the one bill under reconciliation. So it was like the taxes and, like, I don't know, your mom's car wash, like, membership and, like, all this stuff all jammed into one so they could jam it through.
Mm.
But it ended up not working because there were things in there that were clearly not budget.
Yeah. Well, it looks like it's going. The big hanger, the big thing was the income cutoff. You know, means tested. Right now it's at 75 for single, 150 for couple, and they weren't trying to take it down to 50 and 100.
That's bullshit.
But it looks like hopefully that's going to stick. I mean, anything can happen, but I mean, I think it'll stick. And of course, when it actually goes through is another issue. But
Well, the other thing I noticed about it that somebody wanted to do was they wanted it to qualify based off of your income for 2019,
yeah, that was the other sticking point.
which is just fucking absurd because that's a totally different world. You know, it should be based off of last year.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. But the problem, of course, is that everybody's taxes aren't going to be in until April 15th. Well,
You know what the magic thing to do would be? Just look at everybody who made like under like $300,000 and just put the fucking money out.
I'll just put it on anyway.
Uh, yeah, I mean, honestly, the simplest thing to do is be like, you know what? We're just going to hand out whatever dollars to like whoever the fuck. And they just do it because like holding it up to sit there and be like, well, Chris, you made in 2019, you made, $87,000 and, whatever. It's just fucking ridiculous. Like, meanwhile, like, how many millions of people need that fucking money now? Like yesterday, like last year? And it's like, are we really going to hem and haw about these fucking people for like $1,600 or $1,400, where the fuck it is? Like, are we really going to cry about that? It's an insignificant amount of fucking money to keep people from going bankrupt because dealing with that is infinitely more expensive.
Well, it's the whole moral hazard bullshit argument, like, well, we can't let them have that because then they'll think they can get away with not paying anything off and they'll just, thinking they can have shit for free all the time.
Who the fuck is turning their life around with significant debts and paying things off with $1,400?
Nobody. It's going right back out again, which they know that. They know that actually stimulates the economy instead of the same bullshit, trickle down shit they've been fucking harping on since Reagan and shit.
Well, Chris, if I have more money, it helps you.
Yeah, doesn't piss. So there's some droplets of piss occasionally, but I'm not seeing any pee storms. Is all I'm saying. So
Speaking of storms, are you guys getting snow out there right now?
No,
we are.
I think somebody mentioned it. It's supposed to get cold, but I don't think it's
not cold.
I mean, relatively. I mean, it's like what is it, 30 or something, I think. Oh, it's 46, yes.
Dude, you guys are really warm comparatively.
Well, yeah, because we're in the fucking South, bro. What'd you expect?
Well, I mean, to be fair, my previous reference of cold is hitting like 50, so there's
Well,
that.
you live in Arizona, bro.
I know.
It's colder in the winter, though.
Yeah, in the winter, sometimes you get just below freezing or when it frosts. That was a big deal. Right now, it's 33, feels like 29, and snowing, and it will be snowing for the next 3 days.
Nope. That's a no-go, sir. That's too
See,
much for me.
I'm into it. Like, there's still nothing more magic than watching snowflakes in the sky. It's true.
I like watching snowflakes on YouTube. Especially when they're right-wing assholes who whine and cry about being canceled or whatever.
Isn't it the best when, they're sitting there on their YouTube platform, or in Marjorie Taylor Greene's case, she was complaining about censorship with a mask, standing on the floor speaking.
Nobody's canceled, bruh. Calm down. It's called consequence culture. Deal with somebody made that up. I didn't make that up.
No, it's a really simple premise. I don't like the way you do anything, Chris, and you make mustard. I'm going to take your mustard off my store shelf. There you go.
Yeah, that's boycott. Which,
well, I mean, Walmart and places take stuff off. They stop carrying product lines all the time. You don't see them crying. You don't see people crying because their favorite raspberry jam is discontinued at a store. These people have like a an oppression fetish going on here. It's just like,
it's persecution complex. Yeah,
that too. Fuck them.
I mean, anything they can whine about to get anybody to listen to them. All the rest of their poor little white men, sad little white men who are angry about the world and how they're not able to go around calling people racial epithets anymore or whatever.
It is, it's a dark day for the cis white het. I have a hard time waking up in the morning. I got to be honest with you. I'm like, damn, how do I escape this persecution?
Another thing I wanted to talk about briefly, is our wonderful governor here in Tennessee is Governor Bill Lee. Useless sack of shit. He's spineless, and he just goes whichever way the wind blows, pretty much. Now he's coming out and saying we need the issue with trans athletes. She said it would harm women, and of course, unsurprisingly, he just came out and said some transphobic shit or whatever. So, and
talking about the issue of including like trans women in women's teams.
Yeah. Jesus. And that started up here, and then unfortunately, it's not on just the right either. I'm seeing some left people question it. If you go to WTVF channel, News Channel 5 here, it's a Nashville station. Usually, Nashville's a little more liberal, so generally the comments aren't as conservative as you might think. In this instance, I'm seeing like one or two comments in favor of this, against his sentiment. Everybody else seems to be like, well, it's true, I mean,
so what's the argument that he's making?
Trans women, trans women have an innate advantage because they were born men. Even if they identify women as now have had all the surgery and whatever, I guess. Yeah, that's a prerequisite, I guess.
Is there like a specific...
There's a hormone level. There's all kinds of shit. I'm not...
is there a specific sport that is in his argument? Which I'm not by any means steel-manning bullshit. I'm just curious.
No, it's just in general.
I guarantee you I could train for the next decade in anything. And there are women that will beat my ass in it 100-fold. So what is this argument?
I think in this specific instance, there is a real lack of education on this issue. To be honest with you, and yeah, you can say, well, they shouldn't have to be. They can read. They can go find out. Yeah, you're right. But there's also people who are voting on this shit who may not really get the issue. And I'm talking about other places. Here, it doesn't matter. The fucking transphobes, anyways.
Right.
It's red state. It's not. It doesn't really matter either way.
Not a good barometer for moving forward.
But in some instances, I do think education helps because in the very bottom, the most like it seems counterintuitive in a way if you don't understand the whole way hormones work, the way trans people or transition. I don't even know a lot of this shit. That's why
You mean like the medical and physiological effects of like transitioning versus not?
I've read stuff, but I don't want to. That's the problem. We need an expert, somebody who really is an expert to speak. I think, and I know some people think we shouldn't. I mean, well, it's their I wouldn't do that anyway. It's their issue. I wouldn't want to speak over them. But it just seems like on this specific issue, maybe a little help understanding the topic itself might go a long way. But again, in this specific instance, it doesn't. You can kill anybody. Kill gay people in the street and hang them up from the news around here. They wouldn't care. They're a bunch of fucking transphobes.
I wonder if there's
homophobes.
Well, yeah, and Arizona's trying to compete with y'all. They're doing real bad right now with all that stuff too. They just took down in the last year they had a whole bunch. There's been an uprising of like transphobic people and things happening. The Black Lives Matter stuff, when that was happening last year, people came like out in force to try to take down a mural that was being allowed to be put up in downtown Phoenix. Yeah, it's bad.
Wait,
it's just more closeted.
What mural was this?
It was I forget exactly what it was. There was a local artist that was going to be allowed to put up a mural in downtown Phoenix. And, as an art piece, but also like kind of in support of obviously the Black Lives Matter stuff. This was like during the height of all the protests and stuff that were happening last year. And it was getting approved and people came out. You would think it was like a legitimate issue. Like people came out in force and were like writing their senators, writing their representatives, state Congress people, like just hammering the state and local government over not wanting it. Arizona's like the closeted, like they just came out of the closet as being at least like trying to go toe for toe with any of the southern states. They're just they just don't have as big of a history of it. So there's no stereotype.
Where do you think they all came from? All those fucking snowbird motherfuckers, and it's too hot even here for them, I guess. So they go too cold for them here. I guess when you're that old, you have to have it hotter,
Well, and the other thing is there was actually, I don't remember all the details because it's been so long, but there was actually, Arizona was not Confederate because it wasn't a state. But like when it was a territory and there was some sort of battle that was fought, one small skirmish, I'll call it. I won't call it a battle. It was the people that were down in that area were pro Confederate. But it wasn't like anything like the actual, it wasn't like Dixie down south down there. But it's they have their own situation, which is not doing well right now. It's gotten worse.
Yeah, people trying to act like because Trump's gone, well, because he's not president anymore, somehow these people are just going to magically melt away or some shit.
No.
They're not going to go anywhere, and it's not going to take long for him to bounce back, get right back on his horse, talking shit. Even if he doesn't have Twitter, he'll find a way.
Did you see he's talking about opening up his own social media platform?
Oh my God. The government would be all over that. Do you know
I,
how?
I hope he does. I hope he does. If people thought Parler was getting rejected, like, first of all, nobody's going to host his bullshit because you know immediately what's going to be on there, especially under the guise of free speech. You know, there's going to be all the Parler people and all the people that were like on Telegram and Gab and all these places that are just like the cesspool of cesspools. They're all going to flock there. It will get shut down if it can even get hosted.
They're just so fucking stupid. They have no idea about security.
No.
They have no idea about how you do shit without getting, identified. I mean, you're going to put a media platform up for y'all where they can just basically watch y'all do everything you do. You know they're watching this fucking shit to spy on you, what you're doing in here. That's not how any of this works, man. You don't stay hidden by being in a huge group. I mean, that's just stupid.
No, and like with Parler, when that was first coming up, the primary demographic that had user accounts on there, other than like people like us that had accounts to go there and troll and stuff like that, was white supremacists, Trump supporters, like, and then there was various flavors of all that combined, and Saudi nationalists, which is a really weird thing to show up on Parler. You know, it's a weird thing. But yeah, hey, if they want to open it up, you know, that can get scraped too. You know.
Oh, they're gonna scrape the shit out of that. It'll be a field day.
God, yes.
It'll be even better than them getting caught on camera because then they'll have all their information. They won't have to go looking. They'll know where to look.
Yeah.
You just sat there on Twitter talking about murdering in the name of Trump and shit or something like that, you know.
Right now, Parler, the website, is technically hosted. The platform is not, but the website is, and it's hosted on a Russian server currently.
Yeah, I heard this. Yeah.
If you visit it, it has like 8 posts on it from Dan Bongino, John Matz. John Matz is the founder of it. Dan Bongino is like the primary investor, but there's like half a dozen other people that invested like a boatload of money into it. Just like posting like 1 or 2 things. It's like, it's not even a platform. It's like basically imagine a white page with their posts on it that looks like Parler did. I think they will come back eventually. And I'm waiting.
Stop biting. Cat acting the damn fool.
Which kitty is that?
This is seriously, she's acting strange. You need to sit your ass down.
Is that the loaf?
Stop it, bitch. No, it's fucking the little annoying one. She keeps biting. I don't know.
I just hope they do it because they're basically setting a honeypot. And you know what? I'll be honest. There's 2 reasons why I'm disappointed that Parler went down. One is I enjoyed going on there to troll people and do my thing.
Yeah, I bet you. Yeah.
And 2 is it makes it. I mean, this is the downside. I'm not saying they should have stayed open, but the downside is now these people have scattered across like Telegram and Gab and like all these other places, and it's much more difficult to keep tabs on them.
Yeah. You should have kept them in one spot. You know,
I get why Amazon did it, because do you really want to have your company known for hosting this shit?
Stop it, you. Yeah, I don't know what the logic. I mean, I guess Amazon, but Amazon's worth how much? You can do anything you fucking want. So who fucking cares?
I mean, it would hurt though if sellers on your platform started pulling their accounts and your advertisers and stuff.
In that case, yes.
Which the collective we definitely were pressuring Amazon to at least try to like either shut them down or mandate some changes for it through pressuring their advertisers and things like that and the platforms that they do their thing on, which, you know, at the end of the day, they Amazon can do what it wants, but they want to make their investors and board members happy.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm just surprised there isn't. I don't know what servers because there's other crazy people who use shit like Glenn Beck, his shit. Well, they put him on whatever he's using or something.
Did you? I think he's currently on Telegram and Gab. Gab and Telegram are the two places right now where everyone is flocking. They're both painful as fuck to use because they're terribly designed and they're garbage. But Telegram, have you ever used like what is that text messaging app? Signal.
Yeah, I got it.
So imagine Signal, and instead of having your own page, you can start your own chat room, and people can join it. And so it's like one giant shit show of posts in a chat format.
So it's people posting random.
Yeah, but they, you can have admins and curate it and stuff like that, but it's in a single chat. Like it would be like the world's biggest group text is the best way to think of it. So that's painful, but it's also way harder to find stuff on it because you have to obtain a link to join it, to find what it is. You can't just search for it. So that's one place where the crazies and these like weirdos that have exiled themselves from Twitter or have been kicked off have gone, or Parler. The other one is Gab, which is, I forget what country it's based in, but I don't know what it's at now, but for like a week or two, right after Parler got shut off, they were getting in between 10 and 20,000 new users a day. And it was overloading their servers to the point where like, if you tried to log into it, like you might not be able, like it wouldn't reject you, but it might take you 10 minutes to load the page without exaggeration. So that's the new hotspot. Those are the two.
Well, we got Lyman on the case of the extremists. We're going to have him kind of, get a bird's eye view of what's going on. He can give us a traffic update like he's in a helicopter.
I've actually been like, because I've met some influential people in the QAnon stuff. I've actually been debating on collaborating and writing a QAnon documentary, just because. Like it'll give me something to do during COVID too.
There is a menu I saw, Q101. It was Vice did something. They did a little primer.
Oh, like those little investigative things they do that are like 45 minutes long or something.
Yeah.
They do a good job on a lot of that.
That was pretty good. I mean, you never know that what's his name founded the fucking thing. Gavin McGinnis or whatever.
Yeah. No, I was actually surprised when Proud Boys started happening, and then I was learning about him like right around Charlottesville, and it was like founder of Vice. I'm like, the fuck, like
yeah, it's weird. I don't understand that.
Why would you walk away from that to go be an asshole?
Because he's an asshole. That's why he wouldn't get enough love and attention. I'm sure. He wanted to go somewhere he got more his ego.
Did I ever tell you the excuse that? So I've talked to, because there's a bunch of Proud Boys in Phoenix, and long story short, I knew this girl that lived in Tucson that was doing political stuff. This was during the beginning, like it was like Charlotte. It was right around Charlottesville, but I'd known her for like since the beginning of Trump's campaigns. And she was a huge MAGA person, like walking around like a gun on her hip and like Trump hats and all this bullshit. And she came to Phoenix once and she texted me. She's like, "Hey, you want to go to a party?" And I was like, "No, like I'm a recluse. That's fine." And I was like, "But where?" And she's like, "Oh, it's in Gilbert." And I was like, "Well, that's also like a 45-minute drive." So I was like, "Well, who are you staying with up there?" And she's like, "Oh, I met these guys. They're in this club." And I was like, "What kind of club? This doesn't sound good at all." And she's like, "Is this thing called the Proud Boys?" I'm like, "Fucking Proud Boys? Like, what are you doing?" She's like, "No, they're just misunderstood. It's just like a guys club."
Oh, right.
And she's like, and I was like, "That's not true." So I just started throwing her links and stuff like that. She's like, No. This is all just like not true. It's not true. I'm like, okay, then what do you like? She's like, they're just a guys club, and they picked the name Proud Boys because there's a a song in Aladdin the musical that where Aladdin's singing about being a proud boy, and like something about like his parents or something like that, wanting to be proud of their boy. And she sent me a link to it, to the musical, and I'm like, this is such fucking garbage. No. I'm like, you do know they just like killed a girl, right? Like, no.
Was she prone to that anyway, or just come out of nowhere?
She wasn't. She was like the standard run of the mill MAGA person, circa the early 2015. So she wasn't like necessarily like out there involved in this. This just like spoke to her, and this is during the time when like Tommy Lauren was like at the peak of her thing happening.
Yeah, she's fun.
And so this girl was trying to basically piggyback off the same template as Tommy Lauren, which was unfortunate because she seemed nice, but she was just like young. I think at the time she was like 23 or something like that. And I'm like, man, you're getting mixed up with some shit that you don't want. Like,
what the fuck? This cat sauce got. She trying to bite the entire microphone. Get off. Did you say kind of shit and kills me? This is the kind of shit that makes you fall and bust your shoulder. Shit.
She's trying to assassinate you again.
Yeah, good times, man. Proud Boys, awesome. What were we talking about?
We were talking about social media.
Yes. So they shouldn't have got rid of Megan Parlay. Should have let fester like the swamp. I mean, better the swamp you can see than the quicksand underneath and shit. You know, you walk into it and discover too late it's quicksand and shit. So
it is a catch-22 though, because it wasn't just like things were being said that people just thought were icky. Like,
no, it was calls for violence and revolution.
Oh yeah, like active, credible threats and planning. So I mean,
what the fuck is wrong with you? Just trying to rip my goddamn. Get out.
She's like, you pop blocker.
Damn. All right, well, let's talk about. I just saw this come across my feed. Jason Isbell.
Hi.
Is a singer-songwriter, apparently a pretty good one. He's like the Americana type. He seems like he's a pretty progressive type of guy. He's out of Alabama, but feel like Americana music or whatever. So, have you heard about this mullet country fuckstick who country singer guy? What?
They dropped the N-word out in public?
Yeah, I can't.
Vaguely.
His name is actually not important, but I'm not going to even use it. Isbell's the only name you need to remember. He put out a tweet saying he was going to, because he co-wrote that, he actually wrote the song that he sang. He's giving all his earnings to the NAACP in Nashville.
For how long? Forever?
I don't know, from this album. From the song, I guess, the specific song.
So, here's the conundrum. Is it possible that someone like him, like, clearly this is something he just does, like, talks like that. Don't know what's in his heart, but at least he talks like that. I can guess what's in his heart, though. I think people can redeem themselves, but I don't think it should be just because they pay their way out of it immediately.
No, this guy, he didn't give a shit.
You know what I mean? That's like, I don't know, like beating your girlfriend, getting caught, and being like, I'm going to donate millions of dollars to
no.
shelters.
No, you're misunderstanding. No. He didn't, songwriters do that. I mean, they'll just pick songs. He didn't have anything to do with the process.
Oh, wait, I am misunderstanding. So it's not the person, we're not talking about, you're talking about somebody else that used the song that douchebag wrote. And they're donating.
No, it's the other way around. No. The guy who wrote the song initially is the one who's given his money to the NAACP.
I got it. So the actual writer, not the...
Yeah, right, the singer. I mean, I assume people know that writers, a lot of times singers, there's plenty of writers who just write shit for people to sing, and he's a songwriter. As far as anything else, singer songwriter both in there. So he has songs and people just cover them. Usually they pay for the rights for it without him even necessarily giving his permission. I guess, but you know what I'm saying. It could literally go to anybody who wanted to cover that song. It just happened to be this fucking asshole who bought the rights to that song or whatever.
Yeah, there's a ton of writers that, I mean, look at pretty much every boy band and pop group that's been out. Like, they'll contribute. Sometimes they'll do something that's their own, but a lot of times they have like professional like writers that will submit stuff and shop their song to the artists, and then it becomes theirs, but they make royalties off of it for ever.
Yeah, and other people can cover it.
Sure.
You know?
Absolutely.
So that's the situation with that, and I just thought that was pretty cool.
That is very cool.
I've never listened to his music. From what I understand, though, he's at least liberal. I don't know if he's left or not, but
Yeah.
it's not something you would find. I don't know. Country music now, they're becoming a little more left than they used to be. I think a lot of that's because Nashville itself is fairly progressive. I guess neoliberal, I would say, but they wouldn't say progressive. Okay.
I would actually. I thought it was cool when the Dixie Chicks dropped the Dixie.
That felt performative to me. I don't know.
Well, I mean, what are they? That's something they could do.
But I mean, they could do. I mean, that's fine. I'm not against it or anything. It just seems a little because Dixie does have connotations other than I know what they're doing, but it's just part of their branding so long that I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter at this point.
It could be positive and part of their branding too. I mean, remember a long time ago they talked shit about George Bush,
Yeah.
and they were like exiled from the great country of Texas. It's
that was great.
yeah, they're they're the greatest country in the United States.
Fucking idiots.
Yeah. But like, it's not off brand for the Dixie Chicks to do that. Like, to be a little more left or progressive or something than what the connotation of the genre is that they're in.
Yeah, and plus there's like just mainstream country, which is all garbage, just about. And then there's kind of you go a little bit to a little more indie. It's not really indie, more lefty-ish stuff, and then that's where you find someone kind of your more liberal artists. I think you're not going to find that in your, we're going to the farm, me and Becky. We're gonna do it next to the cows, or whatever. Shit like that.
There's an artist that I've liked for a long time that's out of the South. I think he's from Mississippi. His name is A.A. Bondi. You should check him out. I think you would actually like it. He's not necessarily country. He's like folk to like indie rock, but he's got a really like soulful kind of Southern vibe to his voice, and his guitar playing is really, really, really good, and his music's just really good in general. I first learned of him in the late 90s, like the post-grunge era. He had a band called Verbena that Dave Grohl produced one of their records, and this is totally they broke up, and then he just started doing his own thing. I saw him live in Phoenix once when he toured through in a little club. He was fucking awesome. Like, you should check him out if you like that kind of like your woods. But he's also liberal left, whatever you want to call it.
Well, I encourage people to go check out Jason Isbell. He's pretty famous musician, I guess, as far as that goes. I'll admit I'm kind of out of touch with music nowadays for the most part because I self-isolate and cry myself to sleep. So it's fun. It's fun. We laugh. We have fun, right? Me and the cat sitting around. It's fun.
You like going to sleep listening to like crying yourself to sleep to like Losing My Religion or something.
Fuck off. I actually like that song.
It is a good song. But what are you listening to now?
Nothing. So I don't listen to anything. The only thing
You don't listen to anything?
no, I'm watching YouTube. I'm either watching Majority Report, which I've been watching more of, or I'm going through Star Trek Next Generation, which is my new series I'm going all the way through.
Have you watched it before?
No, I don't think I've seen all the episodes. It's been a long time because it came out in like, was it
89 or 90 or something like that. Yeah.
And I was too pissed off to watch it much because I thought they were stealing the original series. I thought they were an imposter or something.
It's really good though.
Yeah, well, the first couple of seasons are kind of garbage, but
I mean, as a whole, as a collection of work.
yeah, but I was young and bitter. I do
That's
bitter
fair.
well, so
Now you're old and bitter.
well, everything.
Nope. I've been listening to Last Podcast on the Left a lot. I've been staying away from more serious stuff just to like keep my mood up.
I don't have time for that. I'm going straight for the depression.
But I mean, like when I'm driving or something, it's either music or Last Podcast on the Left. And sadly, they only put out like 2 or 3 episodes a week. So
Yeah, I don't really even. The only thing I listen to is Behind the Bastards. That's really about it. As far as podcasts, I'll catch an occasional episode if I enjoy it.
yeah,
Last couple of weeks they've been putting stuff out I don't really like that much. But
I've been playing video games occasionally at night to like turn my brain off.
well, that's a problem I'm having actually. I haven't been sleeping that well. This has been a thing that's been going on. I think it may have to do with the fact I think I'm just have a low level just depression going on or something. And I've been smoking more of the weed light lately, which I don't know. I need to cut back on that a little bit. I don't know. I've just been having trouble. I never thought I'd be the person to say that I want somebody around me like sometimes. But
Human.
man, just come over here and just hang out for a minute. You ain't gotta stay long. The cat piss ain't too bad.
And I mean, you could always get outside, like social distance.
I mean, So I mean, it is kind of even it gets me every once in a while, I guess. Sitting around watching Star Trek and smoking the dope and hanging with the cats, while not pretty cool on its own. The fact that you don't do anything else because you're at home all day, just
Yeah, basically, I end up doing domestic-y stuff. Some figuring out, and we'll just put work in the domestic stuff, and then and then the occasional, 3 times a week, Last Podcast on the Left, and we've been watching a lot of murder and serial killer documentaries. There's some really good ones that just came out, or at least released on streaming.
I saw one that just came out. The Night Stalker.
Hell yeah, that's a really good one.
I don't generally, but this is based in the '70s and the whole satanic panic thing. So I'm all about all that kind of crazy shit. They were just so scared that Satan was raping their children. I don't know.
We're watching one. It's called. Well, we watched the first one, which is about the Golden State Killer / East Side rapist, or whatever. So we finished that, and then there's another documentary about that came out last year, because Patton Oswalt's wife, who passed away, she was like kind of one of those amateur sleuths, true crime writers, and she actually ended up solving the case of who the Golden State Killer was. And so last year there was a documentary about her. It's about her, but it's about the Golden State Killer from her vantage point, and it's really super well made. I think that one's called "I'll Be Gone by Night" or
Okay.
"Gone by Night." you should watch. Just look on Hulu for. I'll double check and I'll message you where it's at. But there's the Golden State Killer one, and then there's Gone by Night, which is kind of the follow up that has a resolution to it.
Wait, I thought, what's the other one?
I think, what is it? Truth and Lies, Golden State Killer.
Oh, there's more than one?
I think so. I will double check. I don't have my. I know that Gone by Night is the most recent one that actually has a conclusion to the case to it. But there's another one that came out. It was in like 2018. I want to say it was made, or 2017, and then so it's 2017, and then everything that led up to everything in 2020. And it's cool because she wrote a book and she did all this stuff, and so I'm guessing that she did an audio book for her book, so it's narrated by her out of her book, and they have tons of interviews and all this other stuff with like sheriff's department and like all these people that like victims of his that managed to survive and things like that. Super well done. And
that one is named. See, I'm confused. You're saying there's two different ones?
Yes, there's an older one that was prior to 2020. I want to say 2016, 2017. That one ends with the case being unresolved.
Oh, well, fuck that.
Which you should watch it because it covers a lot of stuff. It's really well done. But then you watch hers, the one about her and the Golden State Killer, and it doesn't go through the whole thing again necessarily. It kind of they work well together. It's like almost like chapter 1, chapter 2.
It's an HBO documentary.
One just came out on Netflix today because I got a notification for it. Was called The Disappearance at the Cecil Hotel. And did you watch American Horror Story?
No.
So there's American Horror Story Hotel, which is the season that they had Lady Gaga in it.
Yeah.
Well, the hotel in that season was inspired and based around the Cecil Hotel in California, because this is also set in California. The Horror Story season. The documentary that came out is specifically about the Cecil Hotel and the disappearance. I don't think it'll ruin anything to tell you this because like it's only popular that people only know about that place, like other than that it's an old hotel that like I think it was like 2012, like a woman disappeared there and nobody found her for like months. And people that were staying there started reporting a foul taste in the water, and they found her body in the water tanks on top of the building. So people were drinking people.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah, so we're gonna watch that probably starting tomorrow.
Complete segue into something I'm just glad you reminded me about. On the Majority Report again, they had some lady on who did a book about people hacking into like security systems for like water plants and shit, or infrastructure. I don't remember exactly. And you would know how easy it is to hack into shit like that, and how fucking scary it is, because they said in one instance, first they talk about Stuxnet, which is a good example of how that kind of thing works.
Stuxnet is crazy.
Yeah, that shit was. She talked about that briefly, which was, it was the virus introduced to the Iranian nuclear plants to sabotage their centrifuges or some shit. It's amazing. The thing they came up with was fucking tailor-made just for that one thing.
Do you remember how it worked? I can give you the TLDR if you don't.
Well, she explained it some. She said it got injected and it told the operators that everything was fine when actually it was running itself down at higher temps than it's supposed to be, or something like that.
That's mostly true. So basically what it would do is it would the centrifuge for enriching uranium will be spinning. It has to be spinning at a certain RPM. And the operators, just sit back and wait, kind of like the Homer Simpsons of the nuclear enrichment facility. They get a notification that says, hey, this, the centrifuge is slowing down. So they just turn it up a little bit to get it back up to speed. And what it would actually be doing, because it was a false notification, so they would be turning it up higher than what it should be. And it would repeatedly do this, and they'd be like, oh, okay, well, it's slowing down. I got to just turn it up. And so they would basically turn it up to a point where they would destroy themselves. The machines would destroy themselves.
And they did it gradually.
Mm-hmm.
Like this program, it didn't do it all at once. It did it over a gradual amount of time until finally.
It basically wore it out and like rattled it apart is basically the best way to think of it.
I mean, it just proves that we can do something, although I wonder if Israel probably had more input than we did on that, actually. U.S. can put out shit, but apparently we can't. The cybersecurity in this country is absurd. Especially, everywhere, really, most places. But here, it's too easy to get your shit hacked into. And
with the water plant, are you talking about the Oldsmar water hacker?
Oh, I didn't fish. It's just recent. It was like a small town in Florida.
I think it's Oldsmar is what it's called.
I don't know. And they said somebody had got remote access and was trying to turn up the lie content
that's
in the water. And they caught it in time, and they said the sensors would have caught it anyway, even if it gotten through. But the fact that somebody was able to go in there and do that kind of shit is just really just disturbing. Because everything is, electronic nowadays. And she said there has to be some thought paid into, do we really need these things to be remotely accessible? Or is it too much risk? Like if you're a plant manager and you're at home and you need to, look at your current temperature in your centrifuge or some bullshit. I don't know. Should you be able to do that, or should they keep it strictly off the internet because of all these dangers?
Well, I mean, part of the problem is that just because of the way infrastructure works in general, there has to be at least a local network inside, because everything's on a network. So it doesn't have to be on the internet necessarily, but unless you're going to have somebody living at the plant, remote is going to be the way it goes. And the other thing is, a lot of companies that make equipment, when you get support for their equipment, first thing they do, the way they support things now, is remote.
The remote desktop, yeah. Okay.
So I don't think there's any way
you're not
to do that unless you're the military or something.
So you have to find a way to fucking increase cybersecurity drastically, and they're just not doing that.
I'd be curious to see how they think it happened, because the most common way for things to get compromised is, it sounds stupid, but it's like you send an email and you fish for somebody's credentials. I spoof an email, you go fishing, you compromise somebody's computer there who's Bob in accounting, and now you at least have an in to the network, and nobody knows any differently. It's the biggest flaw, I would say, in cybersecurity is people opening shit that looks legit. It looks like it's from your boss or the scanner, and then they, nobody questions things as long as it looks authentic. People are way too quick to get it up.
Well, I don't think people realize, or maybe they do, that there are programs that are used by hackers that basically search for vulnerabilities at the speed of fucking whatever. Whether you're talking about, trying to find vulnerable exploits in the firewall, whether you're talking about DDoS, whether you're talking about, like you said, phishing, or just trying to break in by guessing the codes or the passwords and shit. What they call it, brute force or something like that.
Yeah, brute force,
brute attack or something like that. Anyway, whatever method they have programs that will do that for them. It's to the point now where they could just set it up to go, and then they wake up and see which things look good as far as they can get into it. And that's their whole fucking job and shit. So, I mean, that's kind of scary, It
is. But yeah, the most popular way to get inside somebody's network is to get somebody's credentials, which oh, hey, Chris at podcast.com, something's wrong with your account. We need you to confirm your password. It looks legit. It looks like it's like even the email address it's coming from looks like it's coming from the right place. Everything is perfectly spoofed, unless you really dig in under the hood, which like 9.5 out of 10 people will not, because they don't even think about it or don't know how. And so you click on it, it pulls up a thing that looks totally legit. They've spoofed the whole interface for it. Usually it's Microsoft Office 365 or something like that. And because most places will sync your network account to the email account, like the passwords and everything. So they're like, oh, okay. And they put it in and they hit enter and it just like brings up a page that doesn't work. And so people are like, huh, well, everything seems to be working. Cool. What you just did is you put it into a form that just sent me your credentials and you know, potentially a little bit of other information that I can use going forward to try to complete the puzzle.
Well, if I have one more email saying that my PayPal account has been suspended, or well, I got one today saying my Amazon or something wrong with my Amazon account. There was something wrong with my Apple account once. Your account has been suspended. Usually is what it says, or you know, we need more information, some bullshit. And if you know anything about, you know, it's not hard to pick out. And like you said, it only takes a couple of people to make it worth it. Yep. Depending upon how much money they have, you can get, how much shit you can get out of it, you know.
One of the most clever ones that I've ever seen was, say you worked at like Chris.com, right? You have a giant office building, you got scanners and all this stuff in there, and you can scan to email. And like it's totally normal to have scanner at Chris.com. Like when you go and scan to your email, for the scanner to send your scan from scanner at Chris.com to your email. So what people do is they'll spoof scan at whatever the company is.com and they'll send it to somebody. And it's got an attachment, all that stuff. And people are like, well, did I scan it? Well, maybe somebody picked my name off of the address list. So they open the attachment and they're like,
I've seen that too.
You know, yeah. It's just like, it's honestly, most things that are compromised, unless you're talking about like really high level hacks, are like just compromising people's like good nature and making things look routine and just gathering information.
It's happened to me before. I'm like, wait a minute. Because for a half a second, I'm thinking, did I do that? I'm like, oh shit, they got me even thinking about it, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, they got experience at fucking trying to get people's shit, so I guess they all know generally people's behaviors, you know? So, I mean, I don't know, it's fucked up. So basically, we need better cybersecurity in this country before they destroy infrastructure, which probably is destroying itself anyway, considering how it's fallen apart because nobody puts any money into it.
Places like water and power and stuff like that, and city-run things or state-run, municipal, whatever's, are usually really fucking behind in their tech too.
Yeah.
So
I guarantee you, there would have to be some sort of government program there ought to be to increase security for stuff, you know, stuff like utilities and stuff like that.
I mean, yeah, it should be a no-brainer that like something critical infrastructure should. I know, you know, states fund their stuff and all that, and there's like complicated subsidies that go from the feds and things like that. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, yeah, I don't live in Tennessee, but if Tennessee has a major problem, like number one, if it can happen there, it can happen where I am. Number two is it's like nothing happens in a vacuum, you know. It's like there's not a lot of priority, but you know, as long as you need to you know, keep your forever wars going and things like that, and
yeah, that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, it's like as long as that works and people are making money, like fuck everybody else, right?
Exactly. All right, we're gonna wrap it up here. I'm feeling a little weird tonight. Feeling a little strange, Lyman.
You all right?
I don't know, man. Doing too much of the pot and sleeping too much, man. It's, you know, no, I don't know. I just haven't been sleeping that well. So.
Yeah, I've had a few nights of that. Or like going to bed, falling asleep perfectly, sleeping for 2 hours, and then waking dead awake. Yeah. That's the best.
That's bullshit. Well, Lyman, stay safe up there in the 20 foot of snow or whatever y'all do. I don't know. I don't know that much, y'all Northerners. Oh, well, technically Maryland is underneath the Mason Dixon line? Is that right?
No, I think we're above it.
Or is it?
I think it goes below us.
Is it below? I don't remember. Anyway, keep safe up there. Don't drive into any ditches or anything like that.
I'm gonna try to stay home as much as possible for many reasons.
Because you got Natalie there.
There's that.
Sweet Natalie.
I'm still hoping that we're gonna we're getting a cat. That's happening. We just need to find the time to find one.
Well, I got to come up there just for that. Then,
yeah,
I guess
we're gonna have
if
to.
I ever get it, if that ever happens.
Well, once the COVID monster's over, we don't have anybody around.
Yeah, we ought to. You can go buy me some beer.
Yeah,
To replace the shit still.
Natalie got her vaccine, her first COVID shot.
Who?
Natalie.
Oh, did she already?
Yeah.
Where's she going to?
No, she got it on Saturday.
Did she post that? I don't think she posted.
I don't know. I think she posted something about it, but yeah, somebody at her school posted something that there was at the Six Flags in Maryland, they were having a vaccine thing, and you could sign up, and there was limited numbers and all that stuff. So she signed up, and some of her other teachers signed up, and so I think 4 or 5 of them got their first Pfizer.
It's weird that it's just random. I thought they were doing it controlled.
It was like a controlled program, but it wasn't for just everybody. It was for elderly frontline workers, which teachers in Maryland are considered frontline.
Okay.
So, yeah. So she got her first one.
Well, good on Natalie.
And for the record, 0 side effects other than her arm was a little sore. So
I heard the second is a little rougher.
I've heard people say it's rougher. I've heard people say they didn't notice any difference.
Well,
so
I mean, of course, if one person had a bad reaction, I guess we'll just can't do any of it. Well, I'll just take might as well just forget the whole thing.
Somebody got hurt by a seatbelt once, so I'm never wearing my seatbelt again.
So that's great logic. Anyway, all right, Lyman. Well, thanks for coming on.
Take it easy, man, and stay safe.
All right. Well, until next time, y'all take it easy now, okay?
Bye.